Good afternoon and welcome. This is Spotlight Africa. We're coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State Capital. My name is Uyai Imam. Today we're bringing you stories all around the continent. And we'll first head to the headlines where Tunisian Member of Parliament has been jailed for 8 months over post-mocking president. Now, the United States hosts new Western Sahara talks amid deep divergences. Chad closes border with Sudan following clashes. Fighting resumes in eastern DRC in violation of ceasefire deal. In other news, Ethiopia marks 65th army anniversary amid Tigray tensions. These stories are all just ahead of Spotlight Africa. Stay with us. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We begin Spotlight Africa from Tunisia, where a court has sentenced the lawmaker to 8 months in prison over social media posts mocking President Kais Saied following recent deadly floods. Ahmed Sadani was arrested earlier this month after he posted on social media about Said's visit to flood-hit areas, calling him the Supreme Commander of Sanitation and Rainwater Drainage. He was jailed on charges of insulting others via communication networks, a judicial official said. Sedani's lawyer, Hussein Aydin Ben Attia, told reporters that his client was being prosecuted under telecommunications law against harming others via social media, an offense punishable by up to 2 years in prison. Meanwhile, human rights groups have criticized what they describe as an escalation of Said's crackdown on dissent since he suspended Tunisia's parliament in 2021 and began ruling by decree. Away from that, the United States convened a fresh round of Western Sahara negotiations in Washington on Monday, bringing together Morocco, Algeria, Mauritania, and the Polisario Front in a high-stakes diplomatic push to resolve the 5-decade-old conflict. This marks the third meeting in just 1 month, following talks at the U.S. Embassy in Madrid earlier this month. Donald Trump's Africa envoy Massad Boulos is leading the initiative, with analysts suggesting Washington aims for a breakthrough by spring. According to Spanish journalist Ignacio Sembero, Trump seeks to position himself as the peace president while supporting Morocco, a key U.S. ally now involved in Gaza stabilization efforts. The U.S. is pushing Morocco's autonomy plan as the negotiation framework, consistent with October's UN Security Council Resolution 2797. However, the Polisario Front and Algeria reject any solution excluding self-determination. In another development, Chad has shut its border with neighboring Sudan following clashes linked to the conflict in Sudan that claimed the lives of 5 Chadian soldiers. On Monday, the Chadian government announced the closure, citing repeated incursions and violations committed by force in Sudan's conflict. It is not the first time the Sudanese civil war has spilled over into Chadian territory, leading to casualties and property damage, according to a Chadian official. Fighting between Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces and troops loyal to Sudan's government unfolded in the border town of Tain. As well as the 5 soldiers who were killed, 3 civilians also lost their lives and 12 more were injured. It comes weeks before the war in Sudan enters its 4th year. According to the United Nations, the war in Sudan has unleashed the world's worst and largest hunger crisis. The conflict has displaced millions. Elsewhere, fighting between the Congolese army and the paramilitary AFC M23 has reportedly resumed in eastern DRC, despite the ceasefire proposed last week by Angola's President João Lourenço. Kinshasa says the rebels are looking to strengthen their position while continuing diplomatic talks, but M23 categorically rejects the accusations. They say that government forces are behind the hostilities, citing strikes and ground offensives targeting their positions and surrounding areas. In a separate development, Bellarmine Kachantunga Mugabe, the youngest son of Zimbabwe's late former President Robert Mugabe, appeared in a South African court on Monday, facing attempted murder charges after a gardener was shot at his Johannesburg home last week. The 29-year-old and co-accused Tobias Mugabe, 33, also faced charges of defeating the ends of justice and unlawful possession of a firearm. Police have not recovered the weapon believed to be used, in the shooting, which left an employee hospitalized following an altercation at the Hyde Park residence last Thursday. The pair appeared in the Alexandra Magistrate Court and will return March 3rd for a formal bail application. Police say the motive remains unclear. Recall that his brother, Robert Mugabe Jr., faced drug possession charges in Harare in October. The brothers have a reputation in Johannesburg for lavish parties and unruly behavior, with their family issuing a statement Monday denying authorization for any spokesperson to represent them. Away from that, closed for more than 2 months, the border between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Burundi reopened this Monday, February 23rd, ending a period of isolation and uncertainty for thousands of residents. In Uvira, a strategic city on the shores of Lake Tanganyika, life is gradually returning to normal. Bujumbura's decision to close the border post followed the takeover of Uvira by the AFC M23 amid particularly tense security conditions. From the early hours of the morning, a dense crowd gathered at the Kamvira crossing on the Congolese side and at Katumba on the Burundian side. Traders, transporters, students and families separated by the crisis crossed the barrier, visibly relieved. Motorcycle taxis resumed their rotations, bicycles loaded with goods reappeared, and cross-border trade, the economic lifeline of Uvira, restarted. Like him, many families had sought refuge across the border, fleeing insecurity. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, the advance of M23 rebels in South Kivu province caused a significant influx of Congolese refugees into Burundi. The reopening of the border now offers the possibility of gradual returns. Alain Safi, a Congolese refugee, still remembers the hours of panic. Meanwhile, Ethiopia celebrated the 65th anniversary of its Special Operations Command on Sunday in Hawassa, with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed praising the military's modernization efforts as renewed tensions simmer along the Tigray border, the region devastated by a civil war between 2020 and 2022. The event at Hawassa International Stadium drew senior leaders, including Chief of General Staff Field Marshal Berhanu Jula and Deputy Chief General Abehu Tedesi. Elders from the Sidama community performed the traditional Kwitala ceremony, symbolizing honor and unity. Troops showcased precision drills, waterborne exercises, and coordinated airborne operations. Abiy emphasized that defense reforms have transformed the command into a modern force, integrating airborne, commando, and counter-terrorism divisions. The anniversary comes as tensions persist in northern Tigray, where the 2020 to 2022 conflict killed hundreds of thousands. The show of force signals Ethiopia's determination to maintain military readiness while honoring 6 decades of service safeguarding national sovereignty. Sudan slams Uganda for hosting RSF paramilitary wars. To stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. This is still Spotlight Africa. We head now to Somaliland, where the development of droughts looks like they're looking to Israel for help with water management. On Faisal Omar Salah's family farm, the seeded furrows are nothing but dust after months without rain. Like many in Somaliland, he hopes Israel can help. In the nearby Leyles Reservoir, dozens of camels graze on wild plants, but not a single puddle remains. Locals say no rain has fallen on Leyles, around 45 minutes drive from the capital, Hargeisa, since last June or July, even though this is traditionally the wettest part of Somaliland. He prays to Allah, but is also putting his faith in Israel. In December, the Israeli government became the first country to recognize the independence of Somaliland since it declared its autonomy from Somalia in 1991, following a civil war. There are rumors Israel may establish a military base in Somaliland. Somalia's federal government is livid, with President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud calling it the greatest violation of Somalia's sovereignty. But for now, Israel prefers to focus on civilian cooperation, assisting Somaliland with issues around the economy, agriculture, health, and above all, water. It has invited Somaliland water sector workers for training. A first batch of 25 left, with Israeli experts due to visit the territory to help install technology soon. In Sudan, government has denounced Uganda for hosting the leader of the Rapid Paramilitary Support Forces, calling the meeting an affront to humanity. Sudan's foreign ministry, aligned with the nation's armed forces, said Uganda had flouted international law by welcoming RSF commander Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, whose fighters are accused of committing widespread atrocities throughout the continuing civil war. On Friday, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni said he met with Dagalo, also known as Hamdati, at his presidential home in the city of Entebbe. Museveni, appointed by the African Union to mediate between Sudan's military and the RSF, said he emphasized a peaceful political solution. 3 Cameroonian soldiers have been sentenced to prison for their role in the killing of at least 21 civilians in the country's troubled Anglophone region. The jail terms for the crimes, which took place 6 years ago in the northwest region, range from 5 to 10 years per person. A military court previously found the soldiers guilty of murder, arson, and destruction, a rare occurrence in a country where military personnel are seldom convicted of crimes against civilians. Nevertheless, lawyers for the victims told reporters that they were disappointed with the length of the jail terms handed down, calling them insignificant. The conviction centered on the events of the 14th of February 2020, when soldiers, supported by a local militia of ethnic Fulanese, raided the village of Ngabor and killed civilians. And that's all we are able to bring to you at this time of Spotlight Africa, looking at news stories and events all around the continent. Do well to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spotlight Africa, we are MM. Good afternoon.